You know what's funny? We spend our entire lives believing that success means adding more. More habits, more hustle, more stuff, more commitments. We think if we just pile enough things onto our plate, eventually we'll find what we're looking for. But what if I told you that everything changed for me the moment I started taking things away? Let me tell you about something that happened to me 3 years ago. I was standing in my kitchen, surrounded by gadgets I barely used, staring at a drawer so full of utensils I couldn't even close it properly. And I was exhausted. Not just physically tired, but that deep kind of exhaustion that settles into your bones when you realize you're working harder than ever, but feeling emptier by the day. That's when I discovered something the Japanese have known for centuries. They call it tebanasu. It literally means to let go from your hands. And it completely changed how I understood life. See, I've been studying Japanese philosophy, diving into the wisdom of samurai warriors and Zen monks, trying to figure out what they knew that we don't. And here's what I found. Real transformation doesn't come from acquiring more. It comes from releasing what's weighing you down. Think about traditional Japanese paintings for a second. There's this concept called yohaku, the intentional empty space on the canvas. The artist doesn't fill every inch with detail because they understand something profound. The blank space isn't wasted space. It's where your mind gets to breathe. It's where beauty lives. Your life works exactly the same way. I used to pack my calendar like I was afraid of missing out on something important. Every hour accounted for, every minute scheduled. I thought that's what successful people did. But you know what happened? I lost the ability to think clearly. I lost spontaneity. I lost joy. So I did something that felt almost irresponsible at first. I started blocking off chunks of time for absolutely nothing. No goals, no productivity metrics, just empty space. Sometimes I'd take a slow walk. Sometimes I'd sit with tea and watch it steam. Sometimes I'd literally do nothing at all. And here's the wild part. My work actually got better. When you give yourself real rest between periods of effort, both the rest and the work become more meaningful. The samurai knew this. They practiced zanshin, this state of calm awareness where your mind is completely present. After every sword strike, they'd remain alert but relaxed, ready but not tense. Now compare that to how we use our phones. I realized I was scrolling through social media without even wanting to. My thumb would just start moving, pulling me into an endless feed of other people's lives while mine passed by unnoticed. So I removed those apps from my home screen. Didn't delete them, just made them slightly harder to reach. The temptation was still there, sure. But when I had to consciously search for the app, I'd pause and ask myself, do I actually want this right now? Most of the time, the answer was no. That simple friction brought silence back to my mind. Real, comfortable silence where I could just be with myself. Then there was my kitchen. Remember that friend I mentioned? I went to her place once, and her kitchen was almost empty. One pot, one pan, one good knife, a few basic tools. I watched her cook, and it was like watching a meditation in motion. Every movement flowed. No searching for tools, no decision fatigue about which gadget to use. Just simple, intentional action. I went home and started clearing all those specialty devices I'd used once. The duplicate measuring cups, the maybe someday appliances. What remained was clarity. And within that clarity, I found something unexpected. Cooking became enjoyable again. But here's where it gets interesting. For years, I thought the answer was in books. I'd read about productivity, mindfulness, success strategies. I accumulated all this wisdom, and my life barely changed. Then I learned about chiko goetsu, this Japanese principle that means knowledge and action must become one. The samurai didn't learn swordsmanship by reading. They practiced until skill lived in their muscles. Zen monks don't read about peace. They sit in meditation until peace becomes their natural state. I stopped buying new books and started rereading the few that mattered until I couldn't ignore what they were telling me anymore. Until I had to act. You know what else I was carrying? Literal weight. Clothes I hadn't worn in years. Objects that meant nothing but took up space. Commitments I'd said yes to out of guilt. The samurai understood that unnecessary weight slows you down. When you travel light, you move with grace. And speaking of movement, I used to stay up late every night. Not doing anything important, just scrolling, watching random videos, killing time. Then I learned that samurai woke before sunrise because the early morning has this unique quality of clarity. So I started going to bed at 8 p.m. sometimes. 8 p.m. People thought I was crazy. But waking up before the world stirs changed everything. Those hours I used to waste in the evening became hours of creation and quiet joy in the morning. My mind was fresh. Ideas came easily. The day felt like it belonged to me. Even my closet needed this treatment. Every morning, I'd stand there deciding what to wear, and it drained me before the day even started. Zen monks wore simple robes. Samurai had formal wear and training clothes. That's it. I simplified my wardrobe to basic categories and stuck to consistent colors. Suddenly, mornings became effortless. That mental energy went somewhere it actually mattered. Then there's this trap we all fall into, comparing ourselves to others. The Japanese have this beautiful phrase, taru with shiru. It means to know what is enough. Because no matter what you achieve, there's always someone with more money, more followers, more success. That comparison is a fast track to misery. I started practicing gratitude for what I already had. My health, the people who love me, a warm meal, sunlight through the window. When you focus on sufficiency instead of scarcity, life stops feeling like a race you're losing. You know what else I let go of? Negative people. I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. The samurai were incredibly careful about their company because they understood that emotions spread like wildfire. Courage is contagious, but so is despair. If you spend all your time with people who drain your energy and poison your thoughts, eventually you'll have nothing left to give. Creating distance from consistently negative relationships wasn't selfish. It was survival. You can't help others if their negativity has already extinguished your inner flame. And I stopped saying yes to everything. Used to agree to every request, every favor, every invitation, leaving nothing for myself. Now I pay attention to my gut. If something sparks genuine excitement, that's a yes. Anything less is a no. The samurai knew that if you try to protect everything, you protect nothing. Sometimes the most honorable choice is to decline. Here's one that surprised me, letting go of the past. I had boxes of sentimental items I never looked at but couldn't throw away. Zen teachers say attachment is the root of suffering. When I finally released most of those objects, the memories didn't disappear. They live in my heart, lighter now, free from physical weight. The past doesn't need to be cluttered around your house to matter. And finally, I became conscious of my words. There's this Japanese belief called kotodama, that words carry spiritual power and actually shape reality. Every time you speak negatively, you reinforce negative energy. I started catching myself before speaking complaints or criticisms, either rephrasing them or staying silent. The samurai believe that careless words reflect a careless spirit. So I speak now like my words are creating my reality, because in many ways they are. Look, these 12 changes didn't make life perfect. Challenges still come. Difficulties still appear. That's what being human means. But by letting go, I created space. Space in my schedule, space in my home, space in my mind. And in that space, I found peace. The samurai and Zen masters understood something we've forgotten. Suffering doesn't come from having too little. It comes from holding on too tightly. When you release your grip, you might just discover you already have everything you need. As this year ends and a new one begins, I want you to choose just one thing from what I've shared. Just one thing to release. Not 12, not 5, just one. Let go and see what happens. I wish you a year filled with lightness, clarity, and peace. Take good care of yourself.